The old Victorian house stood on a hill overlooking the town. It was a stately manor, once grand, now crumbling. Locals whispered tales of its dark past, stories of tragedy and restless spirits. I was never one to back down from a challenge, so when my friends dared me to spend the night in that haunted house, I laughed it off and accepted. As we approached the house, a strange stillness settled over us. The air grew heavy, making it difficult to breathe. The laughter died down. Unease crept in, replacing our earlier bravado. I pushed the heavy oak door open, its rusty hinges groaning in protest. The interior was dark and dusty, cobwebs clinging to every surface. The musty smell of decay filled the air, heavy and oppressive. Despite the chill in the air, a bead of sweat trickled down my spine. This was it. I was really doing this. We explored the house as dusk settled, each room a grim tableau frozen in time. Faded grandeur hinted at a life lived long ago, now replaced by an unsettling emptiness. The dying light painted long, eerie shadows across the walls, twisting familiar shapes into menacing figures. As darkness enveloped the house, we gathered in the living room, a fire crackling in the old fireplace. Despite the warmth of the fire, a cold shiver ran down my spine. The silence was broken by the creaking of the house, each groan and moan amplifying the growing tension. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows like skeletal fingers. My heart pounded in my chest, each sound making me jump. This was no ordinary house. There was something here with us. I could feel it. Hours crawled by. We shared ghost stories, our voices hushed in the stillness. The wind picked up outside, sending a tree branch scraping against a window. Each creak and groan of the old house set our nerves on edge. The shadows from the fire danced on the walls, taking on sinister shapes that seemed to watch us. I noticed my friends were getting as uneasy as I was. Their faces were pale in the flickering firelight, their eyes darting nervously around the room. We tried to laugh it off, but the fear was palpable. It hung in the air like the thick scent of dust and decay. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from upstairs. We all jumped, our hearts pounding in unison. Silence descended again, heavy and absolute. That sound was no figment of our imagination. Something was moving in this house with us. We listened intently, holding our breath. The silence was broken only by the pounding of our hearts. Then, we heard it again. A soft, shuffling sound coming from the hallway outside the living room. My blood ran cold. I slowly got to my feet, my hand trembling as I reached for the flashlight. My friends watched me, their eyes wide with fear. We had to investigate, couldn't ignore it. Taking a deep breath, I slowly opened the living room door. The hallway was dark, the shadows deeper than before. The air felt colder here, sending a shiver down my spine. I shone the flashlight down the hallway, but it only illuminated the dust motes dancing in the beam. And then I heard it again. A whisper, soft and low, just at the edge of hearing. Someone, or something, was speaking to us. I cautiously moved down the hallway, the floorboards creaking under my weight. The smell of decay intensified, making my stomach churn. It was the smell of death, old and stale. My heart pounded in my chest, each step taking me closer to the unknown. The whispering grew louder now, though I still couldn't make out any words. It seemed to be coming from the end of the hallway, where a single door stood ajar. A cold draft emanated from the room beyond, sending a shiver down my spine. I knew in that moment that something was waiting for me in that room. Fear threatened to cripple me, but I pressed on. My hand trembled as I reached for the doorknob, cold and damp in my grasp. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open, the flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. The stench of decay was overpowering now, almost suffocating me. And that's when I saw it. In the center of the room, a shadowy figure materialized, its form indistinct in the dim light. It hovered above the floor, its edges flickering like a candle flame. A cold, unseen hand seemed to grip my heart, squeezing the air from my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. Its eyes, two glowing embers, locked onto mine. Terror, raw and primal, surged through me. This was no trick of the light, no figment of my imagination. This was real, undeniably real. The whispering stopped, replaced by an eerie silence that amplified the pounding in my ears. The figure glided towards me, its movement fluid and silent, like smoke on a windless night. I tried to scream, to run, but my body refused to obey. I was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear as the apparition drew closer. Its icy breath washed over me, carrying the scent of decay and a profound sense of evil. It stopped just inches from me, its form solidifying. It was the ghostly figure of a woman, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes burning with a malevolent fire. Her clothes, once fine, were now tattered and decayed, clinging to her skeletal frame. The stench of decay intensified, and I realized with a growing horror that it wasn't just the smell of death, but the smell of rot. This woman, this entity, was decaying before my very eyes. I gagged, trying to turn away, but her gaze held me captive. "Get out," she rasped, her voice a chilling whisper that seemed to claw its way up from the depths of my soul. "Leave this place and never return." Her words, filled with a chilling despair, broke the spell that held me. I stumbled back, fear lending speed to my steps. I turned and ran, tripping over my own feet in my haste to escape. The hallway seemed to stretch endlessly before me, the shadows reaching out like grasping claws. Behind me, I heard the woman's chilling laughter echoing through the empty house. I burst back into the living room, my face white as death. My friends, alerted by my terror-stricken appearance, leaped to their feet, their eyes wide with alarm. "We have to get out of here," I gasped, my voice ragged. As if on cue, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air from upstairs. It was a scream filled with such raw terror, such primal fear, that it froze the blood in our veins. We didn't need any further urging. We scrambled to our feet and bolted for the front door. We raced through the house, our footsteps pounding on the wooden floors. The front door loomed ahead, a beacon of hope in this nightmare. I fumbled with the lock, my hands shaking so badly I could barely turn the key. Finally, the lock clicked, and I flung the door open. We spilled out into the night, gasping for breath, our chests heaving. The cool night air never felt so good. We didn't stop running until we were far from that cursed house. As we huddled together, catching our breath, we could still hear the woman's chilling laughter echoing in the distance. We knew then that we had escaped with our lives, but we would never escape the memory of that night. The haunted house on the hill still stands, a stark reminder of the horrors we faced. I haven't been back since that night, and I never will. The memory of the ghostly woman, her chilling laughter, and the overwhelming stench of decay are forever seared into my mind. Some experiences change you, marking you in ways you never thought possible. That night, in that haunted house, I came face to face with the unknown, and it left an indelible mark on my soul. The world feels different now, darker, as if a veil has been lifted, revealing the chilling reality that lies just beyond our perception. I am left with a lingering sense of dread, a constant awareness that we are not alone. The events of that night continue to haunt my dreams, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurks at the edges of our world, waiting to be unleashed.